This is the Impressions Xchange podcast.
Impressions Xchange podcast.
Where all topics impacting the graphic imaging and printing industry are addressed via in-depth news coverage, analysis, and timely interviews.
Welcome to the Impressions Xchange podcast. Printing United Expo will be taking over the Georgia World Congress Center in Atlanta, Georgia, October 18th through the 20th. Since there will be so much to do and see at the event, we want to make sure that you have all the latest details so you can prepare. In today's episode, I speak with Mark Subers, President of Events at Printing United Alliance, and the man with the lowdown on everything Expo related. So Mark, thank you so much for joining me today.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Ashley.
Yeah, I love having you on the show. So give me some of the basic details about the expo. You know, how many exhibitors, how many attendees do we expect, how many square feet?
Right. This year or next year? Because we already sold a lot for next year.
Well, give me both. Tell me about this year and then tell me about next year.
No worries. So we're down in Atlanta, October 18th to the 20th. At the Georgia World Congress Center, which is going to be great. We're taking two halls, B and C, big place. I was actually down there one time, and from the Omni, which is the attached hotel, the Omni to the far side of C is a mile. I'm like, wow, that's a walk. But a big place filled with all sorts of printing technology. As you know, we take a one roof approach to what we do. So really all applications and all application segments are represented. So that's packaging, commercial, apparel, etc. Both halls combined are about 1.2 million gross square feet. We are almost wall bound at this point. So we're really, we're still signing, people are still signing up. So we're still bringing exhibitors in. A lot of excitement are growing for this year. So that's kind of represents about the size of the floor. In terms of exhibitors, like I said, we keep bringing some folks on. So we were at about a little under 750 last year. I do think we're going to be up in the 785 or 790 range.
Wow.
By the time everything wraps up and we get on site. Which is very exciting. We're a lot of expansion in the mailing and shipping area, a lot of expansion into labels. We got 4 label presses. Well, actually, Jack and I just went over, Noon and I just went over the list. There's about 20 actual label presses that are going to be there. But some specific ones of note, the Gallus One.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that's a global launch of the Gallus One, the Durst Tau and screens bringing a press. So really, really exciting from that perspective. So probably about 785 exhibitors, in a 1.2 million square foot facility. And yeah, I guess that's about the nuts and bolts. We expect to match what we did last year in terms of registration. I do believe we'll have a little better verified rate. So that's people that actually show up. This year this is one of the first time. Well, it's the first time where we've charged for registration from the jump. Okay. So I think that people get skin in the game early. And I think that people are going to show up more often. Plus, this is the first time that there's been a major exposition of this nature on the East Coast in 7 years. So a lot has been out west, Vegas, etc. Since the pandemic, but this is a major show for the East Coast. So I'm expecting quite a bit of people from the Mississippi over to the East Coast to be coming to the show.
So you mentioned 2024.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. What?
Yeah. So, we do a lot of pre-planning, right? We have our locations really, sort of penned, years and years in advance. So we'll be back out in Vegas in 24. We're actually going to be in, because of some construction, instead of north and central like we were in 22, we're actually going to be in central and south. So a little bit of change there. But yeah, so we just had our pre-sale event that went on for about a week and a half. And, like I said, I think we're about 65% covered in terms of the floor, which is very exciting. And obviously for this year, we'll be doing, on-site sales, for people. So our sales office will be open for any of the exhibitors who feel like coming off the floor, down in Atlanta and coming visit us and booking for 24.
So you mentioned that, and we've talked about this before, that there are only a few venues that can really house us, that
Yeah.
can an event of this size. And you said this is the first time in 7 years that we've had an event of this size on the East Coast. So is that a strategic thing that where we kind of bounce around between venues? So we
Certainly. Yeah. Some people don't like going to Vegas.
right.
Some people love going to Vegas, right? So, we try to bounce back and forth, the East Coast, West Coast. Every other year depends. Sometimes it doesn't pan out that way. Sometimes we have to double up on the East Coast or out in Vegas. But yeah, I mean that is definitely a strategic approach to how we handle it. Just make it a little bit more convenient for people in other areas.
Right. I love that. So is there anything new this year that attendees can look forward to if they've attended in the past?
Yeah, so we've gone back to we've jumped around based on some research. So we've gone back to including quite a few educational sessions. So I know that you and Denise are actively working on that, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. So we'll probably, I think, you probably tell me better than me, but I think we're gonna land about 35 sessions right around there, and then we also have mixed in some nice keynotes. So Andy Paparazzi, who is our chief economist for the Alliance, is going to be giving sort of a state of the industry on Wednesday for his keynote, and then we're bringing somebody in, Eric Chester, who has written, I believe, 5 books on staffing, and his latest book is called Fully Staffed. And so he's going to be giving a keynote. He wanted 90 minutes. I said, please don't make it that long. Okay. But he's got a lot to say, and he's presented all over the world. We're pretty excited to have him. It's really entertaining and informational at the same time. He's really got some really interesting insights about how to find and retain really wonderful employees. So looking forward to hearing from him. Obviously, we know that's a huge point of contention or challenge here in the industry, in all industries really, is workforce development. So he's going to be doing that. So a nice mix of keynotes, a nice mix of educational sessions, some other new things. Last year we had a few what we called community areas on the floor. And we've expanded those. One of the points of research that came back was, some people said that, I really liked that, but where's mine for my community? So we're really creating what we're calling community hubs for each community. So the implant community, the commercial, wide format textile, who else? I said packaging, I think L&P. So there will be a community. So it's a big place. And I think the idea is that, to find your very close peers and be able to socialize with them. One of the things that we're doing at the hubs the last hour of each day is having a happy hour. So that's sponsored by the Alliance. That's just something that the show is doing. And we really found a very interesting printer's ale. So there's one of our designer, Dave Tomko, was in the Atlanta airport. We were doing a walkthrough, and he happened to come across a beer from Printer's Ale that was, I think it was, they have a multitude of beers, but they're also own a printing company. So all their beers are named after printing. And so CYMK caught our attention, the 4-color process. And we're actually going to be we're going to be buying all the CYMK beers for the hub. So just something kind of fun. We also have a very large cafe, which is going to house a DJ. We're going to have a golf simulator there for people to do. I think 6 mini golf holes are lined up.
That's awesome.
Have a bar open all the time with our food truck. So there's no reason why we can't have a very fundamentally strong expo, but not have some fun while we're doing it. And we're also bringing back the last time we did an open night party was in 2018. Actually, I take that back. 2019. We did it at Gillies when we were down in Dallas. That was the last one we housed. Over the pandemic, we weren't able to have live events. So we are back, and we're having an open night party Wednesday at a place called Tabernacle. It used to be a church, so you get the concept of the naming convention there. So should be a fun time. We're expecting, a couple thousand people to be there, but it's a pretty big place. And we got a 12-piece band. It's going to be a lot of fun. So a lot of different little rooms to explore. It's a really interesting place right in downtown Atlanta.
Well, I know I am not the only one who's excited to try the CMYK beer. I know Bob Neubauer, our colleague, has already.
Oh, I had a 12-pack sent to my house
Oh,
too.
you
So,
did? Oh,
well, I wanted to make
jealous.
sure I liked them before we ordered, thousands of them,
Yeah.
for the audience. So yeah, Bob's already done an interview,
Mhm.
with the CEO, of Printers Ale and the printing company, and I've also tasted them. They're awesome, and I'm looking forward to everybody being able to take part.
Cool. And for listeners, I will link to that article from Bob Neubauer. So, something that you mentioned is we brought back education, which I know in the past, past years we had a robust education schedule, not so much last year, but we've brought it back. And you mentioned hearing from attendees about their want and need of these community hubs. So, it sounds like, attendees speak and we're listening. So why is it important that we are meeting attendees' asks and demands and,
Well,
and meeting what they
sure.
need?
Sure. So it obviously it's always important to list your customers, right? At the end of the day, the exhibitors and the attendees are everything, to the event, and so we have a research group, a third party research group we use called Association Insights. They work with us, and I think they had probably 15 to 18 people on the floor, and they're really looking at everything. How are the lines at Reg? How were the hubs? How were the sessions? Were they well attended? And they constantly asking questions, and you'll see them running around the floor with their iPads. And there's a lot of people just roving around the floor, just taking note and asking people questions. So the original research, I guess, coming out of 2019 was too much education. So we had over 100 sessions in 2019, and it was just too much. It was too confusing. No one could really wrap their heads around all that we are offering, and perhaps we didn't do a very good job of communicating it, which is probably really where the problem lied, there. But so we're trying to find that like Goldilocks position, right? So right amount of keynotes, right amount of education sessions. We want to make sure we're covering enough sort of generic things, sales, marketing, those kind of things, but also taking a little bit of a deeper dive into topics that are relevant to each segment. So some sessions for apparel, some sessions for commercial, etc. But then there's again some generics like color. Okay, so color cuts across everything. Sustainability cuts across everything, right? So we're really trying to, and I know that you and Denise are active and a part of that, and we just really I hope we're striking the right tone, and making sure everybody gets a little bit out what they need to get.
Yeah, yes. And I can speak to that. We do have a wide variety of sessions, and as you mentioned, we have HR sessions and sustainability and OSHA and things that, touch every segment. But then we do also have those very segment specific sessions. And I will also link to that in the description for anyone who's interested. So do you have any advice for attendees, especially first timers, for how they should approach the expo?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. We do utilize a platform called Map Your Show. So if anybody wants to go to when they register, they can go online. They can open start an account with their registration, and then they can start to just like things that they want to go visit, right? They can go out and schedule appointments. So, well, it's a mixed bag on how people approach. I know that, a lot of attendees come and they have a series of exhibitors that are already their partners. So they want to make sure they stop by. They want to see their current, colleagues and peers that are their current vendors, but they also want to expand out and go see what's on the floor. I've heard a lot about commercial folks wanting to get into labels and getting into apparel and things of that nature. So they definitely want to investigate. But I would pre-plan, download the mobile app, register, start your account, start to formulate what education session you want to go to, what vendors you want to go stop by and see, because it can be wildly overwhelming. If you just walk in there cold off the floor with no real game plan, it's going to take you at least, I'd say, an hour or two just to orientate yourself to, oh, this is where the apparel vendors are, generally speaking. I mean, we don't put up any hard walls, Okay, and we let people really go where they want, but we do try to keep like animals together, as it were, like exhibitors together. So it's, hey, here's generally commercial, and here's labels and packaging, and here's where the apparel is, and that is kind of laid out on the floor, and the hubs for those communities align to those areas, generally speaking. But it's a good idea to sort of, like I said, I think, preset some meetings, preset some education that you really want to go to. Obviously mark in your calendar for the opening night party and things of that nature. I know the people generally have a lot of meetings with their colleagues, so I mean, I guess the message is map it out. Okay, schedule it out and be ready. I know I'm already keeping a pretty robust schedule about all that I'm planning on doing on the floor. So that's the advice I would provide.
And that's great advice, considering you said there's a mile between.
Well, yeah, from the Omni, I guess the lobby and the Omni all the way to the far end of C is a mile in location. So there's a lot of solutions, and I think it's really having a, if you know that you're looking to get into a particular application area, and we have a taxonomy, and everyone that they can list up to 20 things that they do. It's searchable on the platform. So if you're interested in a particular technology, you can find people that do that, and then just build a game plan, reach out, schedule meetings with them, etc. So you really get the most out of it, because it can be, like I said, it can be quite overwhelming.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Mark, for joining me today. I think this was some great information for people who are looking forward to the expo next month.
Oh, I appreciate it, Ashley. Thanks so much.
For more information about Printing United Expo, head over to printingunited.com. I will also include a link below to the educational sessions mentioned in today's episode, as well as a link to the Printing United Alliance website for more information and to become a member, if you aren't already. I want to give my thanks to Mark Subers for joining me on today's episode, and of course, I want to thank all of you, our listeners. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Impressions Exchange podcast.